Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Prince Adu-Appiah here, and I'm excited you're joining this episode. Today, we are heading to the Gambia. I have known our guest for 7 years now. He is such an inspiring young man. I met Jimmy Hendry Nzally in Casablanca, Morocco, at the airport during a transit while going for a global youth forum some years back. Immediately I met Jimmy, I connected with his passion for the motherland. He is currently a final year PhD candidate at VUB, which is a university in Brussels, Belgium. He is an accredited and trained entrepreneur by the Brussels School of Entrepreneurship. He has recently been selected as a global mentor by Global Mentee, an organization based in the United States, and one youth ambassador, Belgium. Jimmy is known for his over 10 years experience in youth and community activism. As well, he's known for his 6 years experience running youth programs on the West Coast Radio as a presenter in the Gambia, and his leadership engagements at a grassroots organization called Global Hands the Gambia. I believe you will be inspired today. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. This is your big leadership lesson.
Jimmy Hendry Nzally. It's so exciting to see you again. It's been so many years. I think we first met in 2014, Casablanca, Morocco. It was exciting. We just connected when we met each other, you know. And we flew over to Russia, and from there we came back to our respective countries. And man, I have really been inspired by your work across the Gambia, you know, and elsewhere. And I didn't think twice to get you on the show. So thank you so much for being on the show, Jimmy.
No, thanks for the honor, Prince, as always. A brother, a colleague, a friend, and a great mentor indeed. I'm really honored to be part of this interesting, fascinating, and above all else, you know, educative podcast, you know, that will be geared towards enlightening and shaping the continent that we lived in the world that we hope to shape, and for everyone. So I'm really honored. Thank you for the invitation again, brother.
Awesome. So to start with, I know you have a very exciting story, and I believe that our listeners would love to learn more from there. So can you tell us, where did it all begin for you? Where did your leadership journey begin for you, and how has it been over the years till now?
Yeah, it was very interesting. I grew up in the midst of two great women, my grandma and my mom. So my grandma, she was a community leader, and she was the head of the local women wing of our community, and also of our ethnic group, you know, the mankind. So a lot of people used to come to her place, and she hosts them on a lot of activities. So I was saved by her, the way she organizes, the way she does things, the way she coordinates. And she was a single mom, you know, and she was also responsible for the entire family. And day in, day out, I see how she inspires, you know, a whole family and a whole community. And that really inspired me a lot. My mom as well, you know, she's also a single mom at the time. You know, she was always telling me the value of, you know, leadership, the value of service, and the value of, you know, doing something not only for yourself, but for the community. And all of these two combined powerful stories really shaped me. And you know, from there on, I got the spark from the family level. Then it moved to the community, and I started becoming part of a youth initiative. You know, representing my school in debate competitions, in radio programs, competition, in, you know, spelling bee competition, and winning all of this championship. And you know, therein, you know, I got recognition and started to involve myself in youth organization, tackling, you know, in my community the issue of addiction, you know, and trying to discourage young people and being part of this youth organization and also student organization on campus at high school, you know, becoming a prefect, for example. You know, all of these things really shaped me. University of The Gambia, when I got in there, I became part of the debating team, won championship, become part of the executive members of the debating championship, the social science students organization. All of this enlightened me, and I became more confident in a new breed of personality, of eagerness, of hunger, of strive, of leadership was really touching me through, and the light was really burning more and more. And then it escalated. Suddenly, I started establishing youth organizations and community organizations like Global Hands, for example. And then the University of The Gambia Leadership Fellowship that I also established and trained a lot of these young people. Then suddenly, things became bigger and more people were benefiting. I became a radio program, and you remember you used to participate in all of these radio programs. Then started traveling, outside my country, going to, traveling within Africa, Togo, Tunisia, Africa, then Russia, Italy, all of these places, and Belgium, and studying. So it's just that spark, so yes, here we are, and we're still learning and improving and gaining experience as we move on.
Wow, that is inspiring. And you know why that is? Because you began your story with the two women in your life, and what is beautiful about this is you see them as leaders, and it totally agrees with my belief that leadership is not position. So we are not only talking about the man at the top of the hierarchy of that multinational organization. You're talking about your grandmother, you're talking about your mother, and that is really great. From there, you move to school and your experiences and all that, and then you jump into community service, volunteering for organizations and all that. That is really, really inspiring. So let me move on next to the big question. Along this leadership journey from home to school to corporate, to community service and all that, what has been the big leadership lesson you have learned that you feel can be a blessing to our listeners? Feel free to share even more if you have them.
Yeah, I think the number one lesson that I learned is starting up is that leadership is consciousness. It's the consciousness that you gain around the people who surround you and the people who influences you. For example, waking up each and every day and then seeing that your grandma is fighting for your community, is fighting for the family, and you're seeing her doing it and teaching it those valuable lessons of becoming independent and the integrity and being honest and hard work and all of these things really shaped you. So that's number one leadership experience that I've learned growing up. So that leadership is indeed a consciousness. I think it's one of the philosophers who once said, the consciousness of man does not determine their existence, but it's their social existence that determines their consciousness. So what happens around you, really, it's very important. So that's one leadership lesson that I've learned. Number two is that I've also learned along the way that leadership itself, it's yes, we are all God-given potential, but leadership in itself, it's about unlocking one potential. That you have to take the first step, that you have to be the one who's curious, who wants to do something. So unlocking one's potential is very key, and it starts with you, yourself, knowing the ifs, the buts, and asking the question, why not? So those are really important things. Why did I say that? Because in itself, there are many people now, communities who have potentials, who are good at this, but they fail to realize their potential because they just succumb to their reality. They accept the norms and the dogmatic norms of being themselves and not participating in community service, in leadership, in family, in all of these important things that can save all of us. So that is number two lesson that I've also learned. I also learned that leadership in itself is a price. It's a price that we have to pay, because there is more in giving than in receiving. Because once you impact and once you touch people's life in itself, you see that you have enormous joy. You have fulfillment, and the desire keeps burning and burning and burning. And without really touching lives, then you have not paid the price, because leadership in itself comes with sacrifice, and that is really another lesson that I've learned participating in leadership. Another lesson that I've learned is that leadership in itself, it's about it's about social being, apart from being conscious, apart from paying the price, apart from unlocking your potential, and apart from having that consciousness, leadership in itself is social beings. What do I mean by social being? Because in itself, we are all humans, and we have problems that surround us, and we have opportunities that also are right in front of us. But as a social being, you know fully well that there is something that you can do for your community, that you cannot be a bystander, that nothing comes to, a well-designed plate. So as a social being, you have to socialize. You have to take these opportunities. You have to be part of it, the initiative. That is also that I have learned from this leadership experience. But I also learned that leadership comes with education, knowledge, and experience. Because if you don't have the education, if you don't have the knowledge and the experience, then you are just like an empty barrel standing. So you have to have the knowledge, you have to be educated and allow yourself to learn. And in the process, you gain experience by the things you do, by the people you meet. And all of these things really helped to shape you as a person. So these are some of the valuable lessons that I've learned. And I continue to learn in this leadership, that you have to be selfish, you have to be open, you have to have a team, you have to trust your team, you have to trust yourself, and you have to be happy yourself before you can even lead or make other people follow your lead.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a whole lecture. I mean, these are years of experience and years of sacrifice. As you mentioned, consciousness, you mentioned unlocking your potential, you mentioned paying the price or sacrifice, you mentioned social being, and then the last one you mentioned is knowledge, experience, and education, which I sum up as capacity. These are very, very deep. I have some follow-up questions for you, Jimmy. First, with the second point you mentioned, which is your unlocking the potential. What are some of the potentials that, and again, one of my mentors says that potential is something that the world has not seen yet from you. So you are yet to release it. Once you have released it already, it's no longer potential. So what are some of the potentials you saw in you that through action you brought it out?
Yes, from a young age, my grandma used to teach me, and my mom, they call me the mysterious child. But they see that I was always into solving problems and getting things solved so swiftly. And organizing is one of the key aspect of the potential that I see in myself. But also,
you say organizing?
Yes, organizing, because I ability to bring people together, because I was always good at this, bringing all the people, the young people, playing football, doing some cleaning exercise, the roads, the local roads, repairing the local roads around the community, as you know, when it floods, so all of this really help on sport, playing, so that we can have fun, and even going hunting, going hunting, going to the bush, and all of these things that we used to do, look for wild fruits, and all of this. So the ability to bring people together was well noticed, and I felt it. That was really one of the things that I saw. But also, I realized that when I speak, people listen. So, and that was also another magnet that I also realized in myself, and I noticed quite quickly and quite suddenly, because the ability for people to draw into you, it's one of the greatest leadership skills a leader must possess. When you speak, people listen, people engage, and people, are with you. So that is another potential that I also realized. But also, I was this kind of person who I like to get things done. I cannot wait for tomorrow. I cannot wait for day after tomorrow. What has to be done needs to be done. So the task and the responsibilities were really saved in my hands, as my as my family will always say. When he says he's going to do things, he's going to do them, because there's no need to remind him. And I think all of this and throughout this experience has really helped me to communicate, to reach out, to gain trust, to gain confidence, to rally people towards a cause, and really helped a lot. And one of the probable important things that I also need to add is that, like one of my friends will always tease me, said, I am a great networker. I am a great networker. The ability to go reach out to people, meet them, build contacts, sell your ideas and gain their support. It's one of the things that I think, I'm also blessed with. And I noticed and I realized that, quite frankly, and to sum it up, I have the ability to say it, to plan it, and to do it. And these three, interlinked, really pushed me and made me realize my potential at a very young age and helped me to grow to where I am today.
Wow. That is really awesome. You realize that when you speak, people listen, and your ability to organize. So I guess for the youth out there who is listening to this, you have to look within yourself. Explore the potentials, the things that you love to do. They could be clues to what your future holds. What the world is looking forward to see unfold. And that is brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. One last question I'll ask you, in line with the potential, in line with the lessons you mentioned, is on the topic of capacity. How did you practically, through education, like you said, through knowledge, through experience, how did you build that capacity, to have that wealth of experience? Like you said, as a leader, you need all these things. So how did you do it?
Yeah, it's to face your face with no fears. That is really the number one rule. Face your face with no fears, because we all know that we come from different backgrounds, and our backgrounds are crippled with poverty, inabilities, and all of that. And as a result, you do not want those issues, those real life issues, to limit you or to define you. So you have to stand against the odds. You have to be ready to face the wind, the stormy wind for that matter. And you have to be the rock in the midst of that stormy wind. So yes, so I was very conscious of that. I said to myself, and seemingly inculcated in me, that my condition, my situation should not define me and should not limit me. And that the price that I need to pay is to fight, is to work hard, and is to believe in myself. But to do that, they always emphasize is that education. Learn from your elders, learn from the people, learn from experience. Be strong, respectful. And if you do this, there's nothing that will stop you. But if you fail to do this, then you become a reliability, in the society. So I had two options. Option number one is to accept the fact that, I come from a poor background, and as a result, I cannot move forward, or stand up and be the wind, to be the rock. That is really one of the things that I've learned from that, and it made me strong. It made me a better man, and it made me grow. Because, as I always say, I never thought, for example, that I was going to go to a university. I never thought that I was going to do master's degree, much more now doing a PhD, for example. But through hard work, through education, through leadership, through networking, all of these strengths help to save you and help to break those barriers. And I must say that public-private education or institution, regardless, take advantage of education, because that is the way you become conscious, and that is the way you develop your self-consciousness and confidence, and it pushes you, especially in today's world. If you have potential, if you're educated and you're willing to be educated, then the world is right open for you. It's totally different from a society that was limited by just the lucky few. But today you have scholarship everywhere. You have the potential to network. And as you know, we were in Russia and all of this. Who paid for us? It's through this networking. It's through these opportunities that we have, and we've been traveling. And we all know that we've come from this poor background, but it never limits us to explore the world and to be where we are today. So this is really an important aspect of people, especially the young ones, and especially those who are doubting themselves. They must take education very, very seriously. And despite all the odds, they must stand firm, believe in themselves, and push themselves. Because no one is going to do it for you. And no one will even dream of doing that for you. You have to be the change. You have to be the rock for the wind not to blow you away. Because when the going goes tough, that's where we know who is who. And as you know, even if you board an airplane, they tell you before, if something happened, you first look after yourself before you can even look after your own kid. So that's the world we are in, and that's the reality. So we have to be the rock in the midst of the stormy weather.
Brother, I mean, these are wealth of wisdom, and thanks for sharing that so deeply. Before we go to my very last question, please say that quote again. It's so good. You said, face your fears. Can you say that quote again?
Yeah, you remember I wrote the poem while you and I were together in Russia. It's called I Refuse to Be Defined. And the poem reads,
I remember.
It's dare to save the world we lived in. Nothing is possible without the impossible. The world is changing and change is inevitable. Every day time flies. Why shouldn't I fly high? Every day I am ready for the world without any second chance. I refuse to be defined. Divine mercy marks on us all. I refuse to be defined. Face your face with no fears. I refuse to be defined.
I love this poem, man. I love it. I love it. I love it.
You remember it was immediately after our visit to the ambassador that I wrote that poem. When you remember when we were talking about networking and the social problems and the political issues in Gambia and stuff like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, I mean, I remember that encounter. I think that was when Google Maps and all that was so fresh. We used it to navigate our way on the streets of Moscow, to the ambassador's place. Those are some good times, man.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, let me ask you, what is your last word or your last words for our listeners out there?
We live in a multiplying world. I'm not going to call it a global world, but it's a multiplying world. The person you meet today might change your life forever. The contact that you'll come across with might make so many meaningful things. You and I are a good example. So people should believe, especially young people should believe and should dream. But dreams without goals, they're just dreams. So you have to know what you want and you have to pursue what you want. And clearly, that's my advice for young people. And that for us, it's not about us. It's about the community, the people, the society, and that we all have a role to play. But as young people, we need to take education seriously. We need to be conscious about our environment, and we need to participate in making our communities, our societies better. Because talking without action will not solve our problems. And we have to be the solution. As you rightly stated, you can create the ladder or have the ladder, but you help people to get through that ladder up. But you cannot get people to go through that ladder. So you have the ladder there, but it's up to people to climb up to that ladder. And I want to also encourage you and your team. I'm not really surprised that you're doing these amazing things. I would like to encourage you to keep up the great work that you continue to do for not only Ghana and Africa, but for the world, bringing people together, sharing their experiences, and your 1 billion Africa project. It's just amazing. And this is what we need. And not only are you talking about it, but you've done this over and over again. For how many years now? Very consistent. And congratulations, on your recent graduation as well. I'm really, really proud of you. That's what we need, the good example and this kind of examples for a better Africa and a better world.
Jimmy Hendry Nzally from the Gambia, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you too, Prince. Abaraka.
Thank you for joining this episode, guys. If you enjoyed this podcast and you would love to hear more, don't forget to subscribe and share it across your network. Until we meet again, stay safe, stay inspired.